Evening, everybody, and welcome. Today is June 9th, and we're moving to our open portion of our public meeting. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Lana, will you please call the roll?
New mics. Member Olenichak?
Here.
Member Cherniglia? Here. Member Jogi?
Yes.
Member Scapalato?
Here.
Member Philippak?
Here.
Member Faso? And Member Connolly is absent.
Thank you. We'll now move into the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge. Okay. So sadly, we don't have students. We always love to see our students at recognition, so I'm glad they're on summer break and out at a park somewhere, right? But we will move into board communications and board member updates. Any updates? I have a couple, but my colleagues have any?
Madam President,
Yes, Greg.
I have a couple myself. First off, I wanted to share my experience with one event that happened, I think, virtually every school or lots of our schools. I got to be a part of the Patton Field Day on June 1st, which we had field days all over the district. If you're watching our Twitter feeds out there, a lot of fun videos and pics out there, but just a wonderful way to celebrate the end of the year. The kids get outside, parent volunteers come in. I got to run with another parent the water relay station, and I will tell you it's the coolest station at Patton when we did the field day. But really just thanks to, of course, the parents that came out, PE teachers and other organizers, our staff. It's just a great way for kids to leave the school year. So it was just a wonderful event, great day. The other one was a community event, and you know, we have great partners with the village, and on June 4th, our family participated in the Bike Arlington event, and I know you were there, Anisha, with some of your family. So organized by the village, and the weather committee did great that day. It was just a wonderful day to do it, and if you've never done this event, I mean, what a blast. Like, everybody just gets, you know, to ride like a herd of bikes riding down the street, and you get a police escort. Yeah. I mean, my son thought that was the coolest thing ever, you know.
200 bikers, right, Greg?
What's that?
200 bikers.
200. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
so.
that's right.
But you know, other things like
yes, not bikers.
I saw our school resource officers there. Mr. Larson, our Patton principal, was there. So thanks to our village for encouraging us to get out and enjoy the weather and meet our community members while biking.
Yeah, no, it was really neat. There was, they said 1/3 of those bikers were children, right, were students. So and we have a lot of avid bikers right here in our admin. Stacy's a huge cyclist. We have bikers as well, but cyclists. And we had community members. It was so good to see our community members at the event as well. So it was really very nice. Thank you, Greg, for that. Any other updates? I was also, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Memorial Day Parade in Arlington Heights, where we honored our fallen heroes with our Gold Star families. It was a really heartfelt event. And we had a Gold Star family and a young girl who shared her sentiment about her father, who we lost. So it was a really just a wonderfully heartfelt event. And Arlington Heights Memorial Parade just draws in so many people from across different areas. So it was a neat event. And of course, the farmers market. If we haven't gone to the farmers market, the board members were at the farmers market as well, consuming a lot of good things. So that was fun too. So it's always neat to be out in our community, see our students out in the community, our parents as well. Next up, we have EdRed. Rich?
Anisha, or to fellow board members, I do not have anything to report this time. I was not able to attend the EdRed meeting on Friday.
Stacy, summertime.
I have no report either. I was also unable to attend.
Okay. Yeah, and it's a summer schedule, so I think things are slowing down at Edward as well. And as far as IASB, again, you know, I say this, I keep saying we're getting ready for the Illinois Association of School Board Conference. It's because a lot of prep goes into that conference. And Lana, we're so grateful, does a lot of preparation for us in getting us ready, you know, putting the programs and all the classes and all the different professional development that we're going to be participating over 3 days in Chicago. And so this year, a majority of our school board members will be in attendance. Everybody who can attend will be there. So we're really excited. I think 6 of us, or 5 of us right now are attending, and maybe we'll get a 6th person. So we're really excited to be getting ready for this learning experience at IASB. And NSSEO,
Madam President? I'm sorry, can I jump in with an
Yes, for ISB. Yes, Greg. Sorry.
Item. So this was this week, I apologize, it's Thursday, I think this was Tuesday evening. I participated in the webinar hosted by IASB called Addressing Race and Culture in Schools, What Effective Leaders Do. And it really, it was a session presented by Dr. Sonia Whitaker, who was just a brilliant presenter, and really set the groundwork. They're going to have a series of webinars this summer. You know, Dr. Whitaker reminded us that, of course, I believe this coming year, or Dr. Bond, you can correct me on that, but that equity will be on our school report cards for the state of Illinois. And that maybe a place to start at the board level is to look at our policies and look at what policies support DEI, because that's where we operate at that level in our organization. But really, what she said, you know, she gave us a call to action, and, you know, we are not necessarily responsible for what happened in the past. We can learn from it, and we are certainly responsible for how we move forward. So again, a great presentation, and I look forward to the rest of the series this summer.
Yeah, I follow Dr. Whitaker and her work, and so that was really great that you got to participate. And thank you for sharing that with us. It's really important to learn from each other. So thanks, Greg, for sharing that. And then as far as NSSEO, we have no reports from NSSEO, but I do want to share that the board was invited, and on behalf of the board, I attended a tour at Minor School and was there with Dr. Hackett from NSSEO and the principal of Minor School, Eric, and it was just an incredible tour. I spent about an hour with them touring their facilities, and even while I was at the facility, the magic that I saw happen at Minor and the interventions, you know, that were happening right in front of my eyes. So such talented and gifted educators in our community. So it was really great to be there. Dr. Hackett did talk a little bit about she's really excited about doing the audit of our district and special education work that we're going to be engaging on, collaborating on together. So that was a really neat tour as far as NSSE goes. Okay, so all that for any other board communications updates. We will move forward to community input. And at this point, I'm going to read the script for you as far as the public comments at board meetings. The opportunity to speak to the board is provided for members of the public who have a comment to make about the business of the board. The board appreciates hearing from stakeholders and values your thoughts and questions. As the board strives to make the best decisions for the district, public input can be helpful. In order for the board to reserve sufficient time to conduct its business and to operate its meetings in the spirit of civility and decorum, speakers are expected to follow the following guidelines. Number 1, address the board only at the time provided on the agenda and only after being recognized by the board president. Number 2, identify yourself to be brief and be brief. Your comments must be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. The board may shorten this allowed time in order to conserve time to allow the maximum number of people the opportunity to speak. And number 3, please be respectful and courteous, and the board requests that you not make statements that are personally disrespectful or condescending to members of the board or our staff. The board typically does not respond to comments or attempt to answer questions during the public comment period, but we do listen intently and appreciate the input from our community. And with that, we have a couple of sheets here. The first speaker we have today from our community is Sheila Cruz. If you could come to the mic. Thanks, Sheila.
Hi, my name is Sheila Cruz, and I'm here to address the referendum. What bothers me most about this referendum is that $43 million is diverted to an optional extended kindergarten program disguised as all-day kindergarten. That implies first grade readiness all day. Some people think you're developing Einsteins, but Dr. Biden has reassured us at several referendum meetings that half-day kindergarten will be first grade readiness and half-day kindergarten will be play-based or SEL, social emotional learning. Your brochure states all-day kindergarten will significantly lower the cost of child care for low-income families, so your all-day kindergarten is actually child care. The taxpayers of District 25 are not child care banks. We moved to Arlington Heights knowing if we had kids and needed to continue working, there were child care options, such as there are still today. KinderCare, Mini-Subi, Mother's Touch, in-home daycare, parochial schools, and let's not forget the newest kids on the block, Goddard and Kensington Early Learning Centers. If parents can't pause their careers, then they know they have options that they can pay for child care. All-day child care should not be coupled with academic curriculum at District 25. After all, kindergarten is optional, but 1st through 8th grade is not. Same as preschool. It is also optional. Taxpayers should not be paying for that either. 20% of the District 25 population is 65 or older, and they are on fixed incomes and have budgeted their finances to be able to stay in the home that they raise their kids in and have paid off their mortgage. Just because their home may be worth $500,000 or $600,000 today doesn't mean that they're selling it. They're active seniors who are struggling in this very inflated economy. To significantly lower the cost of child care for low-income families implies that these low-income families will have to pay something. But your intention, it seems all along, was to go to a referendum and have the taxpayers foot this bill of $75 million for the next 20 years. The federal government guidelines, federal poverty guidelines identify a household of 3 would qualify as low income if their combined incomes was $23,000. Not many families with kindergarten kids living in Arlington Heights in District 25 are in that category. Senior populations are, however, and they are living off their savings and their Social Security. This referendum will displace many of them. Your public opinion study concluded a majority of respondents said parents should pay, not the taxpayers, not the seniors who will be displaced. Think about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Joanne Carroll.
Good evening. I'm Joanne Carroll. Couple comments. As was mentioned previously, a significant amount of residents, well over 25%, who are taxpayers in this village and community, are not connected to District 25 because they don't have school-age children anymore, college age or older, married, out of the house. They are not expecting to take this exponentially huge tax increase if it passes, especially in these economic times. Very irresponsible that you did this. An increase like this is falling on residents in District 25 and not encompassing the entire Arlington Heights community. Like referendums of park districts, village halls, and the library, everyone eats the bill. Not everyone's eating this bill. I would like to address the poor communication that was, that I feel was conducted. Advertising I know you sent a mailer out. A lot of people, talked to a lot of people, have not received the first one. Did the second one even go out yet? I don't think so, because Monday at Dryden, Lori, you said it's going out in the next week to 10 days. Second mailing, not even going out. Voting's already started, and Village Hall is open Monday. People are shocked when I knock on their door. No sign-up sheets for referendums, for community meetings. Who are these people coming in, talking and telling you as the board they want this? Who are they? No banners are displayed outside. Very hush-hush, very quiet. Very wrong, and I also think you guys rushed this so fast. 4 out of 7, as we know, that was in the Daily Herald article, Brian. Expected pushback from the community and expected bad PR. I think you're getting it, okay? Thank you for nodding your head, Brian, I appreciate that. But I think you guys did a disservice, and the staff should have guided the board members a little bit better as to, let's hold off, let's think about this. 4 out of 7, the majority of you guys had big-time issues. And you didn't act in the right of the people of the village of Arlington Heights. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Kathy Jehoran. Joe.
Thank you. My name is Kathy Jo Haran. I just want to know why you put a $75 million referendum on the ballot for June, when, for one, we've never had a primary in June, and the turnout for primaries is historically low. For 2, you've given only 3 months' notice to voters. For 3, having only polled about 150 residents, and the poll said $60 million referendum, and now it's $75 million. Why did the board vote to put a $75 million referendum on the ballot when, according to the quotes from the Daily Herald, in the March 18th Daily Herald, board members agreed to put the question on the ballot while expressing reservations over the cost and the scope? Board member Gina said, and I quote, she had angst over the $75 million ask of voters. Board member Chad Connolly said he also struggled with that dollar figure after the previous $60 million estimate, which was the number mentioned during the poll of prospective voters taken in February, also stating, and I quote, we're going to face a PR problem here, let's be realistic. Number 4, Brian had said, we're writing checks, and I quote, we don't have. It's a horrible economy. I personally have reservations about kindergarten as a whole. Spending $40+ million for an hour and 10 minutes of instructional time for 5-year-olds. I don't know what the return on investment of this is, because our kids from District 25 tend to hit District 214 schools at a higher level, and we already have part-time kindergarten. Why did the board vote to put this $75 million referendum on the ballot? 1, when we have high inflation that is expected to get worse. 2, gas prices are expected to be over $6 a gallon. 3, food costs continue to rise. 4, building and construction supplies are extremely expensive, and some materials are even delayed in delivery. 5, we're just coming off of COVID. Why did the board vote to put a $75 million referendum on the ballot when studies show that children with full-day kindergarten are at the same level as half-day kindergarten when they reach 2nd grade? Also, Dr. Casarda and Dr. Howell, who the district paid to study all-day kindergarten for the district, stated in their conclusion, and I quote, let us conclude that the caveat that we are in unsettling times, the impact of COVID-19 on enrollment trends and matriculation patterns make estimating future kindergarten numbers, especially additional kindergarten students resulting from a program yet to be implemented, highly risky. Lastly, Why is the question on the ballot worded as, excuse me? Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Sam Pappas.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. My name is Sam Pappas, and I live on Yale. My daughter attends Westgate, and I would like to comment on the proposed Director of Equity position, which is an action item to be voted on by the board tonight. I'm trying to understand why this position was proposed to be effective July 1st, 2022. I'm disappointed that the district made such a recommendation in light of the school district's enormous budget challenges and shortfalls. The budgeted compensation of $172,941 for the proposed DEI director is outrageous. According to Salary.com, the average student services coordinator's salary in the United States is $42,000 as of May 27, 2022, but the range typically falls between $36,800 and $46,900. The district's existing administrative structure is more than capable of addressing any DEI issues without wasting money on a DEI director position. The existing student services coordinator should be able to address a broad array of student services issues, not just DEI matters. The proposed DEI director position seems like another political move that is going to cost taxpayers more and more money. Add the cost of the equity audit, around $68,000, to the proposed DEI director's compensation, and the total comes to over $240,000. Over $250,000. I mean, perhaps we should retain the existing student services coordinator position at more market levels of compensation to address broad student services issues. Again, this is just another cost item. This money should be better spent on teachers, staff, overhead, and other necessary expenses. I will ask the board to refrain from approving this DEI director position and corresponding compensation until this position and responsibilities have been properly vetted by parents and others who may be negatively impacted, particularly homeowners who have to endure higher real estate taxes and hyperinflation in this economic environment. This is yet another action item that is being pushed through quickly without adequate transparency, in my opinion. Again, I'm disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Art Ellington.
Good evening. My name is Art Ellingson. I live close enough that I could walk here, but I drove. I'm also the founder of the Arlington Heights Tea Party. Tea Party is a reference to the Tea Party of 1773. And we like to say that TEA stands for taxed enough already. We are taxed enough already. Illinois taxes are the highest, or maybe second highest of any state in the country. Part of it is because we have so many local units of government. But in this particular case, where proposal is to spend $75 million to give all-day kindergarten, which is not necessary. In fact, Operation Head Start, which was started up 25 or 30 years ago, is not necessary. Dr. James Dobson from Focus on the Family, which was the second largest syndicated radio program in the country right after Paul Harvey News, has said many times on the radio that when you test students at 5th grade and 7th grade, you find out that 80% of the students that needed, supposedly, early childhood education and didn't get it have caught up to their peers. And by 7th grade, 100% have caught up to their peers. My parents are both examples of this. My dad, who would be 108 years old if he was alive today, was not in school until he was 7 years old. On his 7th birthday, my grandmother took my 7-year-old dad to the local school in Chicago to sign him up for school. Since it was June the 9th, they said, school's about over for the year, bring him back in September. So my dad started school at age 7 years and 3 months speaking Norwegian. Hardly spoke English. And because he hardly spoke English, he was one of the kids we would define today as needing early childhood education. And of course, if you look at his history, he obviously didn't do very well in school. After graduating from Schurz High School, he went to Northwestern and graduated, going to night school, and eventually got his MBA from the University of Chicago. Now, here's a kid who needed, according to the experts, early childhood education, didn't get it, yet his performance was absolutely superb in school. He was such a great computer expert at the time, using the computer technology at the time, that the Navy, during World War II, kept him in the Human Resources Department using the computer technology of the time to figure out where to send recruits from Great Lakes Navy Base to the units they needed or the schools they needed to go to, which is why this thing is just not necessary at all. Also, because of the pandemic, because of the economy that we have, this is not a good time to build anything. Building materials have tripled or quadrupled in price in the last 2 years. So your costs of building materials are going to be skyrocketing higher. And if you say this is going to go into effect on July 1st, guess what? The election is June 28th, and as an election judge, I know the election results will not be finalized until 2 weeks later. So 2 weeks later, you won't find out. So how can you put something into effect 12 days before you get the election results? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alexson. Okay, our next speaker is Jennifer Wesley. Yes.
Good evening. I know the referendum is already on the ballot, and shame on me for not being aware of it before now, although after hearing things, it was moved rather quickly, so it would have been hard for me to know about it before now. I didn't get some letter, flyer that you're talking about. The fact that this referendum is on the ballot right now is a shame on you. We are currently struggling with higher prices for everything: gas, electric, natural gas, food. We have out of control inflation, and we're in the start of a recession. And you are asking taxpayers to pay more on top of all this. What makes me sad is we spent 2 years listening to our elected officials say, follow the science. But this board chose to ignore the science, ignoring a study that was conducted that said this was risky, that said that enrollment was declining. I believe someone had told me about this study that it was the Arlington Heights schools needed to be competitive, and that part of this kindergarten process was to make them competitive and attract families. However, I think the opposite will happen. You only need to look at South Cook County suburbs and see the large tax rates that they have and an impact on their home prices and the people moving into those areas. Commercial property in that area has moved out because the taxes are too high. And no one really wants to move into those 20% tax rate communities. The burden falls to the few that remain in the residential side. It's too much in property taxes. Instead of attracting families, I fear you will drive them away along with commercial businesses. This referendum may pass, although I'm very hopeful that it won't. But it passing doesn't mean that you should continue down this path. You don't have to move forward with this referendum. You can still stop. The taxpayers cannot afford this right now. There are other ways to provide services to those in need without having taxpayers incur this added expense.
Thank you, Jennifer. Our next speaker is Karen Joseph.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Karen Joseph. I'm the mother of 3 biracial students in District 25. I noticed that the district's personnel plan's on the agenda tonight, and the details were posted a few hours ago. And I'm happy to see the inclusion of a position of the Director of Equity. Many families that I know, many families of color, many marginalized families, have been asking for more commitment and resources for equity actions in the district for years. We fully support such a position, and we thank the district for taking this step. It aligns with both the board's policy 1:32 and the strategic plan that the board has approved, and it really appears to be a good next step in resourcing your plans. It also sounds like, from what Greg mentioned earlier about equity being measured, that it would be a really good move to really get ahead of this. There's many other districts around the area who already have directors of such areas, and we would just be kind of catching up. I hope you and the community continue this commitment to equity, and then I really do hope we all talk more about its collective benefits. I really think, you even hear tonight that there might be some fears about things being taken away from people with, adding positions. I hope we can have a conversation about that, right? Equity is not a zero-sum game. Everybody wins in an equity-based environment. That's what equity means. One thing I did notice in the plan, and I hope it'll be addressed in the conversation or presentation, is how the position relates to the lined out position in the same section for world language, and I'm sure that'll be discussed, but just wanted to comment that as the district is new on this journey towards equity, I'm urging and hoping, encouraging you to seek a candidate who has years of experience in this area so that they can bring it to the district so we can truly be a leader. I really hope that happens. I'm super excited it's there. I've been on committees and volunteered to help in a lot of different ways. I'm happy to see this moving forward. I really appreciate your time and your commitment. And many families I know do. They're not here tonight. It's honestly hard for some people who don't feel comfortable really to come in such environments. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate your commitment to the plans that you've set forward and to resourcing them appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, seeing no more public comments, we're going to be moving on to the communications from our district partners. First, we have PTA, and I know we're hoping.
She was not able to come.
Yeah, she's not able to come. Yeah, I'm hoping that Nicole, with all her hard work, is having fun during summer break with her children. And do we have a report from ABC 25 today, Dr. Bine?
No, not today.
Okay. And at ATA, we see Allison here.
Good evening. I feel like I never miss a chance to talk. I just wanted to say thank you to the negotiations team, Brian Cerniglia, Rich Olnichek, Greg Scapolato, Stacy Malik, Brian Kay, Lori Nomowitz, Aaron Davis, Justin the lawyer, Brad Lutz, our UNISERV director, Kate Reno, our negotiations chair, Casey Whitaker, Joe Kim, Tim Morkert, Laura Rebsman, and JJ Pearl for an absolutely outstanding experience. I speak for our entire team when I say we could not have asked for a more collaborative process. We appreciate your time, your willingness to meet at the table, the discussions, the creativity, the flexibility, and the support as we negotiated a new teaching contract. I am pleased to announce that our members have voted to ratify the proposed contract. 78% of our membership voted today, and 84% voted in support of the proposed changes. We thank you again for your support and collaborative process. The ATA is thrilled with the results, proud of our work, and we look forward to continuing open communication in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Allison. The board really appreciates the strong collaborations that we have with our teachers union, and we're so grateful for everybody that was included and with their voices at the table. So thank you so much, Allison. Okay, next up we have personnel and planning team coming up, and the first item is approving the 2022-2026 ATA agreement, as was just discussed. I need an action item, please.
Madam President.
Yes, Greg?
I move that the Board of Education approve the 2022 through 2026 professional agreement between the Arlington Heights School District 25 Board of Education and the Arlington Teachers Association.
Yeah, a second.
Second.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions, Dr. Kay?
Yes, so just to piggyback on top of what Allison just talked about, tonight I'm excited to be presenting to you, the board, the ATA professional agreement for the next 4 school years. The board, in collaboration with the ATA, reviews the professional agreement to ensure we are utilizing our resources to provide the highest quality education for the children of this community. The agreement presented to the board for approval this evening declares a mutual intent to cooperatively work toward the attainment of this common goal. The bargaining process was collaborative and productive. As Allison talked about, the board team was made up of Rich Olenichek, Brian Cerniglia, Aaron Davis, Lori Namowitz, Stacy Malik, and Greg Scapolato served as an alternate. All 3 board members provided important input and guidance in their representation of the board and the District 25 residents. The ATA members who participated in the negotiations team were Allison Berg, Joe Kim, Tim Morkert, Laura Rebsman, Kate Reno, Casey Whitaker, and J.J. Pearl. The bargaining teams met 8 times during the school year, reaching a tentative agreement on Wednesday, June 1st, and as Allison stated, the ATA voted today to ratify the agreement. Some of the highlights: 4-year agreement, overall cost falling within the CPI, supports maintaining a highly qualified staff here in District 25. We are able to be a competitive employer to our surrounding school districts. It consolidates a 2-salary schedule into 1 compensation structure, reduces the number of lanes and steps on the salary schedule, encourages and supports continued education for our employees, and offers an attractive salary for new teachers to the area. I want to thank the members of the board along with the administrators who participated in the bargaining this spring. The collaborative nature of our relationship with the ATA is one that I value and cherish. This entire community benefits from our collaborative efforts and makes us a destination district. I recommend that the Board of Education approve the professional agreement between the Arlington Heights School District 25 Board of Education and the Arlington Teachers Association as submitted. Thank you. Are there any questions?
I think I'd want to maybe continue the discussion, or really the highlights that Allison provided, Brian provided, and the other members. So it was a good, absolutely collaborative effort, from not only the board side or the administrative side, but Allison, Joe, Tim, Laura, Kate, and Casey did a great job representing their members, and fully understanding that it's a give and take. Sometimes we give, sometimes we take, and vice versa on both sides. So it was a great effort. I would want to call out Brad Lutz for the outstanding job that he did representing. I know it's probably bad form for on the board side to say, hey, great job to someone else, but he really did a wonderful job representing the overall association, and really on both sides, giving good input based on his experiences and his views, and really helped move the process along when, at times, like all things, we start scratching our head going, what are we really doing here, and what's the purpose? And we moved it along very well. So hats off to Brad.
Thank you so much. And I know our board member, Brian Cerniglia, has served for many years. And the community has to know that this collaborative process, a lot of thought goes into that. And also our board members who participate on the negotiation team go through extensive training. And so lots and lots of time was spent in this process for all people, for everybody included. So thank you so much to everybody again. Okay, we will move on, and we still, oh, yes, we must take a vote. That is really important. So, Lana, if you could please call the vote.
Member Olenichek? Yes. Member Cerniglia? Yes. Member Jogi?
Yes.
Member Scapolato?
Yes.
Member Philippek?
Thank you.
There we go. Now we're live. I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have Dr. Brian Kay again, going over our personnel plan, which is also an action item.
Madam President?
Yes, Greg.
I move that the Board of Education approve the personnel plan for the 2022-2023 for 2022-2023 as submitted.
Thank you, Greg. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Brian. Dr.
Right.
Kay.
So up next, I'm presenting the personnel plan for next school year. These staffing projections are based on student enrollment projections, program needs, mandated state programming, the student-identified needs, and the goals of the district. After extended conversations with district office administrators and building administrators, we are recommending the following changes for the 2022-23 personnel plan. A couple of the positions that I want to highlight are the elimination of the contact tracers who are no longer required, but were a significant help over the past school year to our front office staff and our school community. Another decrease in the number of lunch stipends now that social distancing is no longer required during the lunch period. The inclusion of the Special Olympics stipend that was added as a new program this school year will continue. The inclusion of 2 additional cross-country stipends based on the number of students participating and safety for supervision purposes. And based on the enrollment and student needs, additional special education teaching assistants were required that continue into next school year as well. And lastly, I want to highlight a cabinet-level position, the Director of Equity position, to help us meet the board's directives in the strategic plan. We are recommending reallocating the funds for a coordinator and 2 extended assignment subs to support this position. Included in the personnel plan is also the job description for the Director of Equity, and I'd like to highlight a couple of the items on there. In addition to the title of Director of Equity, there will be an added responsibility of coordinating all aspects of the multilingual and bilingual programs that are held here in our district. One of the focuses, a primary focus for this position, will be helping to build inclusive environments all through our districts, from elementary to the middle school. Identifying and helping support rigorous instructional opportunities for all students, helping to support the strategic planning and implementation of professional development that is focused on equity, diversity, and inclusion, helping us to identify equity audits and reviewing the current policies and procedures that are in place to help our students, equity practices into institutional employment and workplace hiring and training practices will be an area that we want to look at auditing for how we attract and retain and develop our staff. Another focus for the area of student harassment complaints and student discipline systems, as we know those can be not equitable from school to school. Equity messaging among the community and among the staff will be an important focus for this position. And the work of widening the leadership knowledge and impact of equity, diversity, and inclusion among all of the teaching staff in District 25. This position will also lead a community focused on equity, diversity, and inclusion, establishing working relationships with the local community organizations, and recommending policies that develop and implement strategies to monitor and evaluate district-wide progress toward eliminating the achievement opportunity disparities that exist among our students. This position will be a district-level liaison to school board equity committees and collaborates with all of the multilingual teachers and special ed teachers to ensure equity in our curriculum. I'm excited to be bringing this in the personnel plan for the board to consider approving for the future of our district. Finally, in addition to these recommendations, we will continue to budget a contingency amount to accommodate staffing needs that may arise due to unexpected enrollment changes or new students with special needs entering the school district. The 22-23 budget will include a contingency for salary and benefits for 5 certified teachers and 6 teaching assistants. At this time, I recommend the Board of Education approve the 22-23 personnel plan as presented.
Thank you, Dr. Kay. Questions and comments from my colleagues?
Madam President?
Yes, Rick.
Just a quick comment, or maybe even just to make sure that we've communicated another piece. When you look at the personnel plan based on some comments we heard from the community, regardless, I think we heard some positives and some concerns about this particular role. One from a financial aspect, and I think it's key that the staff did a wonderful job of evaluating over the several months that they've been looking at this particular role in coming up with something that fits within our budget. So we're not adding, though we're adding a cabinet level staff member, we're not adding that number of dollars incrementally to the budget. Rather than, like all years, we expect Lori and her staff to be evaluating the needs of the district, of what's needed to meet the goals and objectives that we're setting. And she looked within the budget and said, hey, we're now within a factor, a rounding error, or maybe even a less rounding error when we look at the total budget of that particular role. So we have to, again, look and, and say, is this role that meets that particular need, and look to Lori and the staff's guidance onto that particular piece. The other thing, in highlighting something that Brian said, is not necessarily focused on one aspect, but you have the multilingual aspect within it, as well as looking at the equity of all the programs, not only the special needs, but those advanced learners, the differences between the schools. So it's really much broader than really focused on one particular, what's the words of the day. It's really, they've done a wonderful job of evaluating that position across the entire spectrum of what do the students need, all our students need. And that's when you reflect on it, that's a Herculean effort to really then interact with 5,500 kids, 470 accredited teachers, all the associated staff. And when you think of all the processes and procedures and it's a lot. So this, hopefully the person knows what they're getting into in terms of just the amount of work that they have in front of them on various aspects. So hopefully I haven't scared anyone off.
Thank you so much, Rich, for sharing that perspective. Any other comments, questions? Yeah, and I want to add on to what Rich said, right? It is so important. Our mission of our district is to make sure that every single student and family has a sense of belonging. And so it is a Herculean effort, and we have, I know Dr. K does a great job of bringing gifted educators in to take care of this. This is a very challenging role across the country and takes a very gifted educator. And I'm equally, as a mother and a board member, really excited about this role and the innovative leadership that it's going to take to ensure that our district continues to be excellent for every single child and every single family. So thank you, Dr. K, and thank you, Dr. Bine, for making sure that you looked at the budget every different way to make sure that it was something that we could do in our district. Lana, if you could please call the vote.
Member Cerniglia? Member Jogi?
Yes.
Member Scapalato?
Yes.
Member Philippek?
Yes.
Member Oliniechek?
Yes. Yeah, that's because we have too many that are on at the same time. So we can only take a couple on.
I'm just leaving it on. You can fend for yourself.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Lana. You got that unanimous vote. Thank you. Okay, the next piece we're going to go into, Dr. K is going to go through the administrative compensation, and that's an action item as well.
Madam President?
Yes.
I move
Correct.
that the Board of Education approve the contracts and the 2022 through 2023 compensation for all administrators, including principals, assistant principals, assistant superintendents, directors, and coordinators as submitted.
Thank you, Greg.
Green, second.
Thank you, Brian. Dr. K.
All right, next up, I am presenting to the board the administrative compensation for 22-23. The board is presented with individual contracts for all returning administrators. All administrators that are not currently in the middle of a multi-year contract or part of a retirement agreement are receiving either a one-year or multi-year contract. Each contract reflects a 5% increase in base salary. The increases in compensation allow Arlington Heights District 25 to remain competitive and fiscally responsible. It also allows us to develop and retain outstanding administrators to lead our school communities. We are fortunate to have minimal leadership mobility during the past 3 school years, and we are grateful that we will be able to retain and develop our current leadership team. I recommend that the Board of Education approve the 22-23 administrative compensation for these employees as submitted. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Kay.
Madam President,
Yes, Rich.
this may be a rather lengthy one. I put on my glasses for this, so, oh, I know. I wanted to provide some of my thoughts and insight into the way I'll be voting on this particular matter. Historically, I've been against the overall method that assigns a salary increase to the administrative staff. As my vote historically was misrepresented as an indication that I'm not supportive of the administrative staff receiving salary increases, I feel I need to communicate my thought process more fully. The interpretation that I'm not supportive of administrator salary increases is far from the truth, and actually my vote is indicative that I do not believe we are appropriately recognizing the hard work and performance of the administrative staff. First off, administrative salaries are publicly available and in fact are posted on the district's websites, thus I'm not diving into a subject matter or information that the public does not have easy access to. As Run reviews the suggested salaries, as with other years, we can see that, but for a few exceptions related to retirement or special circumstance, everyone is receiving the same increase. I continue to be troubled by this approach as I feel that this action does not recognize the efforts of the staff. Each administrator carries a separate independent contract approved by the board. As each administrator role is different, each role carries individualized performance objectives and goals with which the individual is evaluated against. With close to 40 administrators, it's hard to accept that everyone is meeting their goals in the same way. By giving everyone the same increase with an administrative staff of close to 40, I feel that we are not recognizing that there are likely staff members that have exceeded their performance objectives, as well as those that have opportunity areas. And by default, I feel that giving all administrators the same increase also indicates that there are no areas within the districts where we are exceeding expectations, nor areas where we could use some improvement, which candidly is not true. Now, we have heard that providing everyone the same level increase is a way to build teamwork and camaraderie. I feel that the exact opposite is true. By not differentiating and recognizing performance, we are not incentivizing creative, out-of-the-box thinking to drive the changes needed in the strategic plan. In fact, I feel we are providing an environment for high-performing staff to move to other districts where their performance can be recognized. Mathematically, this is true. Let's say we have 2 administrators in the same role. Administrator A is making $115,000 and the other administrator B is making $135,000. The difference in salary is $20,000. You could see that these types of disparities in roles are apparent today. Let's then say that Administrator A making $115,000 is a high-performing administrator who each year exceeds their performance objectives with accolades received both within and outside the district, while Administrator B making $135,000 is performing well and just meeting their objectives. After 5 years of both receiving the same increases of, let's say, 3.5%, the disparity in salaries has increased from $20,000 to $23,000. Thus, Administrator A's only option would be to look externally to recognize their performance, or based on lack of reward, scale back their performance level. This is simply natural human behavior. I would ask that each of us examine our roles outside of the board and assess, do our employers differentiate performance in terms of increases, or does everyone get the same individual amount? If it's performance-based, why should we not expect the same here? Simply doing the same thing year after year will not produce change that is needed within the district. The superintendent's role is to recommend, which she has. Our role is to represent the community and approve the recommendation or send it back for further review. So as I look at this, though we have all talked about performance-based accountability, where are we willing to act in a way that supports those conversations? Again, I feel that our administrative staff have done a great job, and through the information provided to us, I feel we are not recognizing the great achievements by many, as well as realizing that there are a few that may have opportunities as compared to others. Therefore, I cannot support the process that does not recognize the high performance of the staff.
Thank you, Rich, for sharing that perspective. And I want to preface that really our board really has a culture of trust where we appreciate the diverse perspectives, because our goal for each of us as individual board members and collectively is to continue to make our district better and better and better. So thank you for sharing that perspective. Are there any other comments or questions before we take the vote?
Member Jogi?
Yes.
Member Scapalato?
Yes.
Member Philippek?
Yes.
Member Oliniechek?
Yes.
Member Cherniglia?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. We will now move on to the last item, and that's Dr. K as well, right? Yes.
Madam President,
It's an action item. Thank you, Greg.
I move that the Board of Education approve the 2022 through 2023 compensation for the non-certified employee groups as submitted.
Thank you, Greg. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Brian. Dr. K.
All right, lastly, this evening, I am presenting to the board the non-certified employee compensation for 22-23. The recommendation is to increase employee compensation for our current employees that work in the following non-certified groups, including the educational support personnel, teaching assistants, clerical assistants, registered nurses, building support technicians, food service staff, and individuals classified as other support personnel that work here at Dunton administrative offices. These increases are intended to support Arlington Heights District 25 in retaining, developing, and attracting high-quality, innovative employees. We seek to remain competitive with our surrounding school districts in attracting and retaining these quality staff. The recommended increase for the non-certified staff positions is 5%. The total anticipated increase in salaries for our non-union staff will be 2.9%. I recommend that the Board of Education approve the 22-23 compensation for the non-certified employees as submitted.
Thank you, Dr. K. Any questions, comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, Lana, will you, sorry, go ahead, Rich. Is that a, oh, okay. Seeing none, Lana, will you please call the vote?
Member Scapalato?
Yes.
Member Philippek?
Yes.
Member Oliniechek?
Yes.
Member Cherniglia?
Yes.
Member Jogi?
Yes. Okay, thanks, Dr. K. You're now off the hook.
Thank you.
We're going to be moving on to the consent agenda, and this is an action item.
Madam President,
Yes, Greg.
I move that the Board of Education approve those items on the consent agenda as follows. A, personnel report and addendum to personnel report. B, invoices. C, regular and closed session meeting minutes as of May 5th, 2022. D, special joint meeting minutes with the Arlington Heights Memorial Library of May 21st, 2022. E, regular and closed session meeting minutes of May 23rd, 2022. F, accept donations to District 25 for 2021-2022.
Thank you, Greg. The second,
I'll second.
okay, thank you, Brian. And that's, so we'll, Lana, could you please call the vote?
Member Philippek?
Yes.
Member Oliniechek?
Yes.
Member Cherniglia?
Yes.
Member Jogi?
Yes.
Member Scapalato?
Yes.
Thank you.
And Madam President, with the approval of the consent agenda, we just wanted to highlight for the board 2 employees who are transitioning to positions with your approval. So they can re-meet you. Congratulations to Diane Kafka, our new Assistant Superintendent of Student Services. And also congratulations to Shab Polos, our Director of Equity.
Well, yeah, you're still here. We didn't scare anybody away. Thank you so much. We're so excited as you continue your leadership in our district, to both of you. Okay, we have the second community input. And Lana, do we have any comments? No comments. We will move on to future agenda items, topics with dates to be determined. Are they? Do my colleagues have for the public? Sure. Go ahead, Sheila.
I would just like to address the board and all the DEI talk, and I'm glad you hired, a DePaul graduate here behind us. But I am a little unnerved about the DEI talk in not only Illinois District 25, but in the world right now. I've lived in this town. I continue to live in this town. My family is from this town. My husband is Mexican, oh my gosh. And we have never had issues before with inequality. I mentioned this once before, that we had Everybody Counts program at District 25. Cultural awareness, we have things at the library where they have cultural events, and they always have had. And we have restaurants and all kinds of options for people to experience different cultures and different languages. We have a huge Eastern European group that lives in Arlington Heights, and I hope that you're considering the Eastern European languages as well, because I don't see that as being a real push. I'm just a little surprised at all this DEI business. I really am, and I think it's over the top, and I think you're all buying into something that is not, it's not real. It's absolutely not real. I just want to say that, and I think we're all watching and we're all listening, and we're all a little unnerved about the amount of DEI and CRT that is being thrust upon the schools, both at the elementary level and at the high school and college levels. It's a little over the top. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have, I believe, do we have another comment? Yes, please. Thank you.
I just wanted to come in, and I am a co-chair at Windsor DEI Committee, and I'm a first-generation immigrant myself. I don't have problems with speaking English. I am Korean. I know that we don't, we're not looking for more Korean faculties or anything like that. But I would like to say that, we appreciate, your efforts for trying to, address as best as you can, to address all of the students and make everybody feel more comfortable and more included. I don't, personally, I don't really have problem, or I don't feel excluded. But that's not to say that everybody has the same issues, and those whose voices are not heard, we would like to advocate, and I would like to thank the board for trying to move forward with the efforts. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to future agenda items again now. And the topics with dates to be determined. Is there any information there for any topics? Anybody like to? And then we have any new topics that our board colleagues would like to address. I have one, that I would like us as a board and Dr. Bine to address, with the gun safety concerns nationally. If Dr. Bine, if you continue to collaborate with all agencies, including our police department, and if you could see if our police department can give us a security report so that the board and the community can be more informed. And we're glad that on our team we have expertise with safety, and so I'm glad that Scott will be here to kind of hear different perspectives there too. Okay, thank you.
Just to piggyback on that, I think our community was doing a fantastic job with the SROs that are assigned to District 25. We go above and beyond, I think, what even our neighboring districts are doing. So I'm eager to hear and to celebrate the things that we're doing to keep our kids safe. So I piggyback on that.
Thank you, Scott. And we always feel safer when Scott is at our board meeting. So, thank you, Scott. And definitely, it will be things that we know our Arlington Heights Police Department does such a great job for our community, and it'll just be good to hear and get a recap for our whole community. Okay, last, I think we are closing out here. So I need a motion to adjourn the open meeting to go back into closed session.
Madam President?
Yes, Rich.
I move that we move back, we close open session and move back into closed session.
Thank you, Rich.
Second.
Thank you, Brian. So we will be adjourning to go into closed session. And those in favor? Okay, thank you.